So before I knew what I was doing was called reselling, and way before I'd ever heard the term retail arbitrage, I was buying and selling stuff to help pay medical debt and medical bills that I accumulated due to my disability. Hello, if you are new here, my name is Heroine Bob. You can just call me Bob. I am a part-time reseller, which is what this channel is normally about. This is my fur baby, Moxie. I do also have a full-time 9-to-5 job. I'm also a Twitch partner and a content creator, and I'm disabled. And I base saying that I'm disabled off of the American Disabilities Act. Just to give context, I do know disability is defined differently in other countries. So I'm basing this off of the definition provided by the ADA that was passed in 1990, of which I will gladly read to you now because I'm certainly not going to remember how to say this verbatim with my brain fog. So the ADA defines disabilities as physical or mental impairments that substantially limit one or more major life activities, a person who has a history or record of such impairment, or a person who is perceived by others as having an impairment, which is something that I would like to talk about. So if you were to look at me in these videos, especially if you look at my catalog where I am running a Tough Mudder, or I am out holding giant bags full of stuff that I've purchased at estate sales, you're like, you don't look disabled. Well, funny you should say that. I feel like most people's perception of disability is based off of either what they've experienced in their own life or what they have consumed through media. And media being film or television or here on YouTube. And unfortunately, those are very visual heavy mediums. So if it's not something that can be conveyed easily visually, for example, someone who's having to use a mobility aid such as a wheelchair or arm crutches, or someone who maybe has a mental disability that has physical traits, for example, those with Down syndrome, it's not really included in our media very often or at all. And there are plenty of conditions, both mental and physical, that are disabilities that don't have a physical manifestation that can be like, that person is definitely disabled. That is not the only thing that disability is, and that's part of why I wanted to make this video. It's also October when I'm filming this, which is Dysautonomia Awareness Month, and that is one of the conditions that I deal with every day and have dealt with every day even before I got diagnosed in 2016, finally, with it. I have pretty much had this my entire life. And it wasn't diagnosed until 2016, and I didn't actually figure out how to manage my medical conditions until 2017, and I had thankfully been hospital free since the end of 2017, which fingers crossed that it will continue to remain so. But it did take a really long time for me to figure out what I needed to do in my regular life and also with my doctor in order to make it so I didn't end up hospitalized. So I have something, well, the biggest thing that affects me out of the 3 things I'm going to talk about in this video is called POTS. I have something called postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome dysautonomia. Yes, it is exhausting as it sounds. I have neuropathic POTS, and they think I also have hereditary POTS, but they haven't confirmed that, but they know for definite certain I have neuropathic POTS. And what that means is that it's caused by small nerve issues, so, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But people who have POTS are wide and varied in their ability to function in everyday life. I feel very fortunate in that while it affects the majority of my autonomic systems, it doesn't do so enough to the point yet where I need a mobility aid yet. And I can still have a 9-to-5 job and do all of the other things as long as I keep my conservative measures in place to manage my disability, and also go get IV fluids once every 3 months, which has been challenging with the pandemic. So let me a little bit explain what dysautonomia is. So you have the stuff that your brain tells your body to do. For example, me waving. This is not part of your autonomic system. This is something that I'm telling my hands and my body to do because I want to wave at you. Versus me breathing and my heart beating. That's something that I don't have to think about to make happen. Unfortunately, my brain doesn't do that so well. And so some of the part of my autonomic systems that are affected is my blood pressure, my pulse, my body temperature, my digestion, the chemicals that my brain makes, not only just mood, but also for fight or flight reaction, so adrenaline. I'd also, pain perception, that's an issue as well. There's more, but you know, one of the things that is also affected is called brain fog, which means I forget stuff, and you guys don't see that when I edit these videos of me just being in the middle of a sentence and staring at my wall for about 5 to 10 seconds because I have completely lost my train of thought. And you're like, well, everybody has that. I'm like, I don't think you know how many jump cuts there are in one of my videos, or how many sections I just completely re-record so that way there's not 15 jump cuts in there. And it's really hard for me to stay focused and on track, so I'm trying really hard to do that for this video, which is also why this video has taken so long for me to actually record, is because it's really hard for me to talk about this in a way that's coherent, because I don't have like a teleprompter here making sure that I hit all the points. So, for example, if I'm having what I would consider a bad POTS day, my heart rate will be over 120 beats a minute for 8 hours a day when I'm awake. I also can get woken up in the middle of the night because my heart rate will hit 200 while I'm asleep. As far as blood pressure goes, my blood pressure can drop and I can pass out. I have a memory from when I was 16 and I passed out standing in line for a field trip in Monticello, or that, and I was done. I was out. I also remember as a teenager waking up with my commander. I was in NJROTC, standing above me around with some of my other classmates because I was doing a relay, and apparently I went behind the pole vaulting mats and they didn't see any more of me because I passed out. There are instances as an adult that I have passed out, but I'm normally pretty good about catching it before I get to that point, now that I know what's wrong with me. As far as body temperature, it could be 100 degrees outside and I could be freezing my butt off, or it could be freezing outside and I'll have to go stand outside with an ice pack on because I'm overheating. So that's super fun. As far as sensory issues go, sometimes like my skin feels like it's on fire. That's unpleasant. A lot of times if you guys see me wear one of the trapeze dresses, there's one over here. So there's some times where I don't want anything to touch me, like at all, because it just feels wrong. So I have these lovely like trapeze dresses where it's basically, it only touches at the top of my shoulder and then it's just floaty, and that's for that reason. There's a host of other things that I could talk about that I have to deal with because of my POTS. The way I manage my POTS is I drink between 1 and 2 gallons of water a day. I also have increased sodium intake, and in the winter time I can wear my compression leggings and my compression socks. The reason I don't wear them all the time, which is at the request of my doctor, is because again I overheat. So here in Virginia, it gets to be up to like 110 with the humidity. So wearing compression leggings is not really something I can do. Again, also with sensory and texture issues, it's not worth it to me to feel like my legs are on fire. So I do that. And then I also try to exercise regularly, which I know is difficult for a lot of people who have POTS. So I'm only speaking from my own personal experience as to what I have to do for myself. I'm not telling y'all, if you have POTS, to do those things, you should talk about that with your doctor, because again, disability is a sliding scale, and so far I am a high functioning person with POTS. There are some days where I can't leave the bed or the couch at all because I will be dizzy and I will pass out. Digestion is not super fun for me sometimes, especially when I get towards needing IV fluids, which I did have to go get yesterday. I'll put a video here on the side. I'm very lucky to have a really good care team. So when I call into my normal provider, I'm like, hey, I need IV fluids. They're like, all right, come in either that day or the next day. And Jasmine, I know you'll probably never see this video, but I adore you and I adore everybody at Centera because y'all make my life so much easier, and my quality of life is so much better because of y'all. So yeah, it's not fun getting, you know, stuck 2 to 6 times to get an IV fluid because you're so dehydrated, your veins are collapsing. But yeah, thank you for doing that for me. So in addition to POTS Dysautonomia, I have something called sensory neuropathy. Again, I mentioned that I do have neuropathic POTS. I also have some sensory neuropathy. Means that the small fiber nerves have been damaged or aren't there, or they're not working properly, and that causes issues. For example, also because my POTS was untreated for so long, again, I didn't get diagnosed until 2016. I didn't actually get everything managed until 2017. The sensory neuropathy gradually got worse and worse over time because my POTS was unmanaged. So I went from in high school not having feeling in my big toes to now I do not have sensory feeling, so that's touch feeling, from my calf to the top of my, like to the tippy tips of my toes. And I do not have sensory feeling 95% of the time in this half of my hands on both sides down to about here. So this pretty much, when I'm touching here, I can feel, you know, when something's asleep, right? Like you've slept wrong on class or something, and like you wake up and your arm's all floppy and it's like that painful tingly feeling. When I'm doing this, that's what it feels like all of the time. Sometimes if I go too long without getting IV fluids, or if I'm having a bad POTS day, I lose feeling entirely in my hands, which is not nice. So that can affect, you know, regular life. Also, I think I've mentioned it before in my videos, but because I don't have feeling below my calf, if I stub my toe or if I drop something heavy on my foot, I do have to go get an x-ray, because one of the things about not being able to feel is that you don't know when you're injured. I did that, actually, I have a viral TikTok talking about exactly that, where I stubbed my toe, and because I couldn't feel it, but I heard the thwack, I went to go get a foot x-ray, and they're like, good news, you did not break your foot today. Bad news is that you should probably definitely come in here every time you stub your toe or drop something, because we did find that you have broken your foot before, and it looks like it healed on its own, and there's like this little floaty bit of bone in between your big toe. So here's your big toe, right? And then here's like your foot bones. So there's a little floaty bit in between right here and the foot bone. So, and some ossification, I think is what they call it, on the end from where it healed from a fracture without me knowing about it. So yeah, I've gotten really good at setting my fingers because I can see those, so normally I can fix that, but my feet not so much. Like I can still kind of feel some things in here, so I know when I break stuff with my hands, and I broke a lot of stuff with my hands when I was playing roller derby. God, I wish roller derby was still a thing. But yeah, so there's that. That also means when I do go running, on the trail running, I fall down because I don't pick my feet up enough sometimes. Like if I get tired, I'm more likely to like stumble or fall down, or I don't feel the ground. I don't know how else to explain it. I fall down a lot when I'm trail running. So that's just something that I deal with. And then the third thing that's super fun is I have hypermobile joint syndrome, which means my joints dislocate randomly. So the joints that dislocate the most often are my shoulders. My thumbs dislocate, and my legs will dislocate from my hip. I also, here, I'll take this off. Ooh. And you can see here, my elbows look broken, but they're hyperextended. In addition to my thumbs dislocating, my wrists do as well. It's also because they've had lots of trauma to them. But I deal with that. My shoulders pop out all the time. That's part of why I stopped waiting tables. Actually, the one job I rage quit was my arm had dislocated out of socket, and so I couldn't carry a tray to carry people's food out. I'm like this. Like, I talking to my manager, asking them, hey, can you help me? I can't, this isn't working anymore. And I couldn't get it to go back in socket so I could use it again, and they didn't help me. So I was just like, all right, bye, I'm done. I can't work, so I just quit. But that was the last time I waited tables. That was it. I was like, I need to find something else because this isn't working anymore. But yeah, they pop out. The leg ones are bad. The shoulder ones, not so much. I can normally get my shoulder to go back in. The thumb ones aren't so bad. Because again, I can normally get the thumb to go back in. I do have a brace for when that happens and it won't stay in, because sometimes it takes a while for things to go back where it's supposed to go. So I do have braces for these. I don't really do anything for my shoulders anymore because they literally... If you ever meet me in real life, I'm more than happy to pop them in and out for you. I probably shouldn't because I'll get arthritis in them, but yeah, there's that. I know some people... Pretty much anytime I talk about having like hypermobile joint syndrome and also POTS, they're like, you should get tested for EDS, which is Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. I'll put that up here because I'm pretty much mispronouncing it. I see you, but I'm not going to get tested for that just because I don't want to know about having anything else. POTS and EDS are actually common bedfellows. I have surmised from listening to other individuals with POTS. Everything is managed right now, so I know maybe I should get tested for that, but that's going to be a later Bob problem and not a current Bob problem. And we're currently talking about what I know I have, which is POTS and sensory neuropathy and hypermobile joint syndrome. Because, you know, when your leg goes out of your hip socket and you can't walk, pretty sure that inhibits major life activities. It's really hard for me to talk about my disability. It's also really hard for me to come to terms with the fact that I am disabled, because it's like, I don't look disabled, and I had a lot of internalized ableism, just because I felt guilty for saying that, because I can do so much stuff, but there's also days when I can't do anything. And yeah, I don't know how to end this. But yeah, those are the three things I have to deal with that make life hard for me. I felt like this video was important to make because I actually do know that there are a lot of people who are either on disability or have disabilities that are not on disabilities, where working a regular 9-to-5 job is not an option, or a 5-to-9 job or whatever is not an option because of chronic illness or chronic pain or because of their disabilities. And a lot of them have turned to reselling in order to make an income. So I wanted y'all to know that I know you're there. I'm here too. And you're more than welcome to reach out to me. Like I said, my Instagram always available. I also have a Discord down below. I also am very free and open to talk about my disabilities on my Twitch channel. I talk about it all the time. In fact, like, I have a couple other people that come in there that also have POTS, and it's been lovely because we can just talk about what's going on with us. And it's nice just in general. I know that reselling can be extremely isolating. Disability can also feel extremely isolating. So being a disabled reseller is like peak peak loneliness, peak isolation. So you're not alone. I know what it's like. You're welcome to reach out if you want somebody to talk to. I'm available. You're welcome to put that in the comments if you feel comfortable. If not, you can just tell me in a DM on Instagram or join my Discord and we can talk about it. Totally cool. Anyway, I promised to make this. I hope you all enjoyed this mess of a video, and I will see you in the next video for more coherent me. I did just get IV fluids yesterday, so my brain is still not firing on all cylinders. Bye.